Welcome once again to the Bass Kayak and Beers podcast on the Paddle and Fin Network. Hope you guys and girls had a great weekend. What can I tell you before we start? Just got back. I'm sorry, from Arkansas. Had to spend like a week in the Ozarks with the wife and the dog. It's an anniversary trip, so it was pretty awesome. Never been there. Well, for vacation, beautiful place. If you ever get a chance to go to the Ozarks National Park or Forest, everything in that area covers all the way down to up the way up to Missouri. It was an amazing experience. I really got to see. Hold on, give me a second. My beer is spilling here. Oh my God, sorry about that. That was embarrassing. So, anyways, I got to see why they call it the natural state. It is a beautiful state. Loved every minute of it. Got to do some fly fishing on the Buffalo River. Didn't catch anything. It was actually the Little Buffalo River. Never fished there before, and I really skunk it up. But I had a great time. It's a great time. So if you guys, girls, get a chance to go to the Ozarks, go check it out. It's an amazing experience. Anyways, going back to the show, we got a great guest for you today. The KATS tournament just ended with their classic, their championship. If you heard my podcast, you know the KATS is probably the longest standing tournament in kayak series, in kayak bass fishing. So we're really proud of it here in Texas. And this year it was a great tournament. I've had quite a few of the winners from this season on the show, and really excited to have Jeremiah Smith. He actually won the classic at Sam Rayburn. So we're gonna be breaking down his big win. We're going to be talking also about some interesting subjects related to health and how that has helped him greatly with kayak fishing. So, now great info. I'm sure you guys and girls are going to enjoy this episode. So, stick around. Before we go to commercial, please go check out my sponsor, Douglas Outdoors. They have some amazing rods, LRS, X Matrix, and fly fishing rods, award-winning fly fishing rods. Go check them out, douglasoutdoors.com. We'll go to a quick commercial and we'll bring Jeremiah Smith in. Mr. Jeremiah Smith, how you doing, man?
Doing good. Doing good.
Thank you for coming to the show, man. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. How does it feel after that big win?
I would say surreal. As you would never think with a 79.25 on a lake like Sam Rayburn, that you would ever have a chance for the win. You just, but it was fishing so tough. I was like, man, maybe I could get like a third or maybe a second or something because it's staying tough. But yeah, I mean, I'm just so used to like last year at the Classic, I had a big lead and I blew it day two, and it did the same thing. It's like slick, like sunny, hardly any wind, hardly any clouds. So that one definitely, if you ask me, my friends, it ate away at me. And it ate away at me in like you could let that go one of two ways, like negative, or you is like, I got to get better. Like, what could I have done different? So uh, happy to have made some adjustments thanks to Caleb Helbig that you just interviewed not too long ago.
Oh yeah, Caleb Helbig, man. What another great angler.
Yeah,
So
I really like, he just really simplifies things down and easy to understand, terms, and doesn't overcomplicate it like a lot of us like to do.
I've only talked to Caleb Helbig on the podcast, and it was on the podcast. And one of the things that I like about it, I get the vibe that he's a real simple person.
Yeah.
Just keeps it simple. Soft spoken. And just he's just down to business. Put his head down and just does what he needs to do and keeps it simple. So I'm sure that has contributed to some of his success because he's had a lot this year, and it is amazing the quality and the talent of anglers we've had in Texas. Before we even started with the KATS, you were actually you qualified for the KBF National Championship, correct?
Yep. Yeah. I went and fished that. So I had the TKC and the national championship and then this one. So definitely the wife was giving me a little hard time, but so she deserves a lot of credit for allowing me to kind of fish it and make this happen, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's always give and take, when you have family, because in order to be successful at kayak fishing, even in one tournament, it's not just something that happens. You're not just born with the skill of catching fish, especially with kayak fishing. So many, it's very different than anything else. Um, so it takes time. It takes time to achieve success. You just don't get lucky and find five fish and win a tournament. When we considered like I said, the talent level that we have here in Texas, and we can go on. Guillermo Gonzalez, Matthew Scott, Caleb Helbig, Brian Howell, who recently moved to Texas. Actually, Jason Borofka actually just moved to Texas too, so you can throw him into that mix. It's really hard to stand out, and you just won the KATS, which, like I mentioned in the pre-recording, or I'm sorry, in the intro, it is the longest standing tournament. There's a lot of great quality anglers, and I think one of the most prestigious bass fishing in the country, which is like Central Texas, especially when you consider Sam Rayburn being like Southeast uh, Texas. That's another prime spot for bass fishing. There's a lot of bass fishing culture and a lot of talent in that area. How does it feel, when you look at the body of work, what it took to win and being able to come on top, considering the big names that went in this tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I would even add to that. I mean, there's some names in there that, like Tyler Howe, he really doesn't
Yeah.
do any of the big ones, but man, he is just he. I would love to see him travel sometime, or Jacob Moeller, Rolando. Luckily, Rolando wasn't in this one. He's one of my
It's
really
another great angler.
really good friends, and it's like, I never want anything bad to happen, but I told him, I was like, Armanzo and I are, and Armanzo, of course, I mean, so many names. I don't even want to say them because I'm going to leave people out. But
Yeah.
Armanzo was catching them on the jerk bait. So you do not want a jerk bait bite going on with Rolando out on the water, because I don't think a lot of people know about him yet, but I think they will.
Rolando Nadine or Manso, you mean?
Rolando and Armanzo. But
Yeah.
Rolando, though, if there's a jerk bait bite going on, it doesn't end well for for the rest of us.
Yeah, no, he's
When he
really
won
good
it,
at it.
when he won at Belton, like he had just, I think he won by something like, I don't want to say it wrong, but at least 12 inches. He just blew
Yeah.
us all out of the water, and there was amazing fishermen there at that TKC.
Yeah, no, Lake Beta. I was actually on that tournament. It was a good bite, um, on that one. And I really enjoyed Belton. It was my first time fishing Belton, but it was a good lake. And again, I mean, top anglers. Matthew Scott was there. Guillermo Gonzalez was there. Um, Jacob J.R. Maccabee, another one who I got on my podcast. He's a great talent. Ross Pinkerton. I'm sorry, that's another great talent. A lot of people don't know about him. I fish with him, and he is very, very savvy when it comes to fishing and really knows how to make adjustments. I've learned a lot just the one time that I fished with him. So yeah, there's a lot of great talents, and props to you for what you did, Jeremiah. I mean, it's an accomplishment, and the conditions were so tough. I mean, we know what happened at the KBF National Championship where the bite was amazing and we saw the quality of anglers. There was just an explosion when it comes to numbers. But since then, I know it's been a struggle. It got kind of like a North Winds came right after the KBF National Championship, and it kept rolling in for felt like almost a week or so, and the bite really died down, and it kind of like got to Sam Rayburn. Like it was the perfect storm of what for things to kind of work out the way they did, in a sense that that made the bite so tough and has made the bite so tough over the last 2 weeks here in Texas. Talk to me about how it felt. Was that your first time fishing at Sam Rayburn?
First time fishing there, yeah, and that one thing that I was thrown off by is the size. Like, I mean, sometimes I feel like scale. I like, I don't take the time to sit there and measure out exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, this is 1 mile. This is 1 mile. I should have done that, because in the practice, I did some mileage, and I was like, this thing's way, way, way bigger than I thought. So but luckily I was just kind of running around there and wanted to yeah, I feel like with all of us, if you just give, us just a sniff of confidence of something that
Mhm.
was working, and just kind of that never give up. I don't like to go into a tournament without just having that little bit of a sniff, and I really didn't have it. Last 20 minutes, I'm coming in, and that's whenever I got that, and I got it really good. So it really gave me a lot of confidence going into it. Even though I had a 79.25 on day one, I lost three big fish and had another good fish. So I mean, I could have been well up there in first, So I made some adjustments that night, getting ready for the next day, and I did not. I lost one fish because I set the hook and the reel seat came off, or the reel
Oh
came off
man,
the reel seat.
that's
Yeah.
what I hate when that happens.
And that's with a very pricey rod. So I don't know if I need a reel seat in it. I think that's probably what it needs or something. Because I had an NRX in the past and I sent it off to G Loomis, and because it did the same thing. And they said that's all you need is just a reel seat. So I'm hoping that's all it is because, it was working good day two.
Maybe we can get you into Douglas, man. Get some Douglas rods on your hand. Try them out. See
Oh,
what you think. Shameless plug
yeah,
right there.
maybe. I don't know. Yeah, there's just so many rod companies anymore. I don't even know kind of which ones. I've been using like mainly a lot of Kisslers and
Yeah,
so forth. Armanzo was sponsored by them, and so
yeah,
could get a good deal through him.
nice. Definitely some quality rods company too here. TFO is another big one right here in Texas. So let's go. Let's start with day one. How would day one? Take me through day one. How did it started? How did it go? And how did it ended on day one for you?
Yeah, I mean, we got a half hour of free run time, so I kind of measured it out, and it was a mile run. So I knew I would get there and just be kind of sitting around. And I talked to Mike Mashall, and man, that guy he gives me so much good information. You just talk to him, and it's almost like you need something, it's going to come up. He's going to have the answer. So, but he was telling me with my live scope kind of what was wrong with it, and I don't know if any of you guys that have your live scope doing this.
Yeah.
Uh, he said turn off, and also it was John Davila I spoke to as well. They were both right there, experts on it, and they said to turn off the automatic whatever. But then they said set your pitch, and I'm not a big live scope guy, but I did set it, and I'm sitting there waiting, and I just see bait and fish all over the place. So I was like, oh, okay, that's good. But I don't know if I was the only one that suffered from this, but it feels like it's going to be the most epic fishing that you're ever going to have on
Yeah.
Sam Rayburn because it is the foggiest lake. It just stays foggy for so long. And, I'm kind of going through there when the light gets up, and they're really not, eating. I catch like one on a spinner bait. And so I'm like, okay, well, maybe I need to go run. And I catch a, several fish on the fat lip blade bait, and but I'm just not really getting the size, so I just start covering water, and I end up covering so much water, like I'm just not getting any bites, and I was like, man, this is getting away from what practice showed you they were on, and so I was like, you need to make a decision now. So I ran all the way back several, probably mile and a half or 2 miles to my starting spot where I saw all the bait. And I don't know if you saw my pictures on Facebook, but I put up I would take pictures, of stuff that the fish were on. And one of them was like, I don't know if they're like a bush, but it looks like it's like a tree that comes up.
Yeah.
But those would make really dark shade, and there was hardly any of them. But if you found one, you just throw right up to the base of it. You didn't have to do anything. Like they just take the rod out of your hand. And
That's
so
incredible.
yeah, so it was. So I got back to that area, and I'm catching some fish, but I lose those three big fish, and so it's definitely was sad. And but I actually was told myself, I was like, if you don't get a limit today, I got the three young girls. I'm like, just I was like, you know what, just go back home and have breakfast with them. I like to eat breakfast with them. It's something like we go out to eat, at Galaxy Cafe. And but I said, but before that though, is I'm going to fish as hard as I can till 3. And 252, I caught exactly a 14 incher. But something in my post also I said is I thank God, I thank the Lord every time I caught a fish, so it maybe a little intervention, I don't know.
Right, right. Definitely.
But
What about
that's exactly what I needed. I mean, just exactly 14, not 14.25, nothing to spare. Let me just get you into the next day because, as you've heard it, 1,000 times, you can't win it on the first day, but you can sure lose it.
yeah, definitely. Definitely. You need that. You can't. Somebody said, I think it was you and mine, who's on my podcast, that Ryan Lambert had taught him before you get to 10, you got to get a five. You don't, if you get skunk on day one, doesn't matter if you caught 10 fish on day two, it only counts for five. So, and that's a good point. You need to manage your fish and manage your catches as best as you can because obviously we can't control what fish do, otherwise it would be a lot easier for sport. But going back now, you're sitting at what you're sitting in day one. You see, I think Armanzo was leading day one, right?
Oh
He
yeah, and
was doing. He
he
was
was up
got
there
off to a
pretty
quick
good.
start, right?
Yeah, and he had a good practice, and he's just such a nice guy. He's like, "Hey man, why don't you come up there with me?" I was like, "Man, it sounds like you got a chance to win this thing," And I was like, "I don't think if I'm any good at all, you're gonna want me up there," you know. And he kind of was like, "Yeah, I think you're right," So I went out of St. Augustine, and which is it's down from where he was at, but it had on the map just like the spot that I was catching them on in the other part. And I thought they'd actually bite better there than where I was catching them on the main lake because it was a lot clearer. And now, like I said, if I caught those fish that bit, it wouldn't have been a struggle. But whenever I lost those three big ones and then lost another good quality keeper, it made it into like, oh no, I might not even have a limit here. So it made it a little stressful.
So once you finish day one, you see what your place is, you see what the people are doing. What was your mental state? In the sense of like, were you feeling good after day one? Or were you feeling down after day one? How did you feel
Uh,
after day one?
I felt a little bit, down, but I mean, I was happy because, Armanzo's one of my best friends. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet if none of you guys have ever met him. And so you always want to see if you can't do good, you want, your friends to do good. And so he was up there. And so I was like, man, I think you got a real opportunity. And, but I was a little disappointed at my score. But then again, I was really happy that I didn't lose it on day one. I was like, I could, as tough as it's getting, I was thinking, like, I mean, I feel pretty confident what I'm doing. And I could get a third, maybe, or, something crazy. Maybe I could get a second. But I really thought on Sam Rayburn with a 79.25, probably not, able to get a first.
Yeah.
But,
So
you know,
so what you get up in the morning, it's day two. Did you do any mental adjustments? Was there a change in your attitude once you got to sleep and got in the water on day two, waiting for lines in? Was there anything that changed that clicked in your mind that gave you confidence going into day two? Or what was your expectation once day two started?
the confidence came that evening because I knew, like, I knew that I was getting the bites and they were the right kind. I just needed to catch them. So that's what made me think I could get a third. I could maybe something crazy. I could get a second. And so what I did is I made some adjustments to the tackle, which was key. Is I changed the hook, I changed the rod that I was using, and I went down in the line size because it's just so sunny. I was like, maybe they can see the line. I don't know. So I made those changes, and they were good changes. Like I hardly lost any fish. I mean, I lost that big one where the reel seat came off on day two, but most of them were not coming off. And one of the things that hurt me at the TKC, I don't know if you kept up with that, but I had on day after day one, I had 99.25, and
Oh,
so I was way, like really good position. Caleb had 99.5, So we were in great position. But the next day, I switched over to the Whopper Plopper, which I'd like to throw on braid, and I threw the Concept Z. And I've lost so much money on that Concept Z. If you have one of those, throw it in the trash. That's where my head's at. Just throw it in the trash. But the problem is when you try to have the drag all the way up at the 22, it's legit. Like it will not move. But what it does is it rips a hole on those big fish. So you lose the big fish. They can do that head turn, and they've ripped enough hole that the barb's not big enough to hold it. And then, and of course I've got big fish. So I'm not saying a person can't ever catch a big fish on it. But I mean, the essence of tournament fishing, I think, is odds. You're trying to get the odds in your favor, right?
Yeah.
And so, but if you try to set the drag down, now you've got an even worse problem, I think, than having it on max drag. And it's just like you try to dig into the fish, and it's like you're a little hamster on a wheel. You can never get into that fish.
I know what you mean.
Oh, and then it does one other bad thing is instead of it giving the line out to that fish, it doesn't do that. Like, it's just like, it's like the madness thing. So day one, when I had that 99.25, I was using the Daiwa Tatula. I don't know if you've seen their new one. It's like 6.7 ounces. And I just really like that reel. And when I was catching fish and they'd surge, it would just spit your line out there. You took it for granted, And so I was like a little disgusted after that TKC. I retired all the Revos. I retired the Concept Zs and just going straight Daiwa now. And it's working out. It's working out.
How did that conversation with the wife come up when they saw the bill?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I think I do it the same way everyone else does. Is that it's just kind of like there isn't a conversation. It's like, hey, look over
it's
there.
better to ask for forgiveness and for permission.
Look at that bird over there. Don't look up here. Luckily, she doesn't give me a hard time and so forth. So, but she does something that's really good. It's like I'm away from the family and I'm doing this big national champion KBF tournament or the TKC, $5,000, and I'm in position after day one. She's like, I was like, yeah, I can win some money for the family, maybe, or something like that, And she's like, don't say that. She's like, just admit you want to go fishing, And I was like, yeah, you're right, And so it's so she kind of keeps me humbled, which I think is really, really good.
That's really good. So, what baits were you throwing on day one, and what baits? Or did you keep throwing the same baits on day one, then on day two? Or did you change baits as well?
On day one, I threw the spinner bait, and I got the most bites in the morning on the fat lip blade bait. You have to be careful what you call those things or whatever. He makes his own bladed bait and stuff like that. And that thing at the national championship, it saved me every single day. So like if you're having good luck on a jackhammer, you better buy a few of those. And I think what's happening with these fish is they just get so conditioned that they can lay off that stuff now. Like Decker, jackhammer used to be just absolutely amazing, and they got hammered for 2.5 years. And now they know exactly how to come up, knock your bait, and not eat it. They are amazing at it. They know how to do it perfect, And so to have that bait, it saved me every day. And so I didn't have some amazing finish. I think I was in the 40s or something like that. But I mean, there was 350 betters or 360. So it's not like it's horrible. But it would have been horrible if I didn't have that. So that thing was getting me the most bites. But really, my practice told me is once that sun really gets up and hot and burns off all that fog, that's whenever I had confidence to catch them, which is kind of weird. I remember watching Bassmasters, and you'd always hear them talk about when the sun comes out, that's when I was catching them. I was like, man, that's not how it works for me. I catch them first thing in the morning. It's easy then, but I certainly don't want it to get all sunny and stuff. But now that I know how the fish kind of set up and stuff, it definitely puts them very obvious places, I think.
Yeah, it's a challenge learning. I mean, it's you have to spend time on the water, and also kind of like even kind of surround yourself with when you go on the water, trying to like try to learn with people. There's so much, and that's one of the things I love about the sport. It's not just something you can go out and practice and be good at it. It takes everything out of you to be able to win a tournament. You have to like I don't say you have to, but um if for like example like me, I wasn't born in a bass fishing culture, like some of the guys out there that's been doing it for decades. So to me it takes a lot of like watching YouTube videos, having conversations with people that have done it for years. Whenever I get a chance to talk to somebody either on the water or on the boat ramp, and just pick their brains, um listen to podcasts. Main reason why I got into a podcast, to be able to have conversations with people that have been there and done that. And that's one of the beautiful things about the sport, just the knowledge and trying to match it with your skills and improving your skills, from being able to skip a jackhammer on their docks to find the right cadence to a jerk bait, have the patience to work a Ned rig or a jig. There's a lot of things at every level that just takes everything for each one of us to kind of like be able to win a tournament and be consistently good at it, at least in catching fish. And it's hard, but it's the hard part that makes it great. I think it's just amazing, and I've always said it on my podcast, and that's one of the things I love it. Going back to day two, when did you realize, okay, I have a shot actually at winning this? Did that ever cross your mind, or were you surprised at the end that you won?
Did you see my expression whenever I posted up a picture on my Facebook
Yeah.
of whenever I caught that big fish? I'm a Guillermo fan. I think everybody likes Guillermo. He's
Great
kind of just
person.
like a good ambassador for the sport. And
Yes.
any of us that remember the TOC, I think he had a GoPro, so I didn't have a GoPro, but whenever he caught that fish, just he posted up his expression. He's like, "Do you think I look excited?" And all that was just one of the things that went through my head at that moment is to snap mine, and it was just that I would say made me think, okay, what Skeet Reese used to say, we're cooking with gasoline now, boys.
Yeah.
Like I was jacked, and I mean, because literally the thing that really surprised me is I don't like to look at the leaderboards because usually it only makes me feel worse, like, oh God,
Yeah.
and I'm doing horrible here, And when I looked at it, I was like, huh, I've turned in three fish and I'm like in third place. Like, what is going on? These guys are sandbagging. Like I know they're sandbagging, and especially since what happened to me like last year, is that, Adam had this huge, big, day two. So I was just waiting for him to go off, or Tyler, or, any Jacob, but no, and then I caught that 18, and then I think I looked at the board and I was in first, and it looked like I think I had like 2.5 inches at that, and I was like, man, it's been really tough, and could it happen? Could I, like, like, you want to kind of like let yourself indulge in it for a little bit? It's like first now, and there's hardly any time left, so it's not impossible. It's not likely, but it's not
Yeah,
impossible.
and there were a couple of them below you that were really, there's a difference. Everybody now has caught their 10 fish, and it's just a question of upgrading. But when you look at guys, it's like, oh, he has three fish. So if he catches two, then, he's back in the race, which that kind of gives you an advantage. You have more, kind of like more room to work with, right? Versus trying to upgrade inch by inch. And I think Armanzo was close behind you, and I think he got when last time I saw, I'm either not remembering the names right
It
or
was
your time right.
it was Aaron Spry, I believe, and
Yeah,
if it was Major League Fishing, Aaron Spry would have absolutely destroyed us all.
he
If
got a
it was,
bunch of.
I talked to him at the weigh-in there, and he said he had 20 plus keepers on day one, and he had 30 plus keepers on day two. So thank goodness we weren't doing MLF, because remember my day one, I squeaked in with a 114 incher with
Yeah.
252 left. So better to be lucky than good sometimes, right?
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, they were I was looking at it, the leaderboard, and I was like, man, Jeremiah Smith, but if I can't remember who he was, if he catches two more fish, and I thought it was Armando. So I was like, if he catches, because I know he had a big day on day one. So I was like, man, if Armando gets his limit, it's gonna be a hard to beat, even for Jeremiah. Jeremiah's gonna have to do some upgrades. Now I don't know if you got to do some upgrades or Armando got to caught his five fish, but regardless, it it definitely at the end of the day it was a tough bite on both days, and conditions that you like I said, we weren't. I don't think anybody saw this coming for the last 2 weeks. How hard the bite has been after the KBF National Championship. So to do what you did in those 2 days was pretty awesome, and I mean deserving of the respect. We don't. We're not. Well, at first glance, you're not gonna see that big number jump out like, oh, he got Mark Pendergraph with 213 inches, which is amazing. But really, that the bite is one gonna dictate really the numbers, and then it's up to the talent of each anglers to match what the bite is. And on this case, the bite was just tough. Your talent, your skills stood above the rest. Being able to fish under those tough conditions we've had, and especially in San Bray with such a big lake. So again, props to you, Jeremiah, for what you did. Big congratulations. Is this the
Thank.
biggest win you've ever had in your tournament
Oh yeah.
career?
Yeah, previously I won the KATS Classic, not last year, but the year before that. So apparently I show up in the classics there, and last year I had a really good shot at winning, and I just blew it. But I mean, I honestly, I've said it before, is I feel like I learn more from losing than
Yeah.
I ever do from winning. And taking my lumps from Caleb recently. I've reached out to Brian Howe in the past, and just he's really helped me with like the grass game. Now, if only I had a lifeline to reach out to for the punching. But I mean, like here in Austin, I mean, you could go to Decker, but it just gets pounded. I would love to find some place that I can go and like kind of get the confidence up in the punching, because it does seem like the guys that kayak fish that know how to do it, it can be a game changer. It didn't obviously wasn't presented itself in this one, but I've seen enough to know that I need to learn that, and I need to learn it well.
And especially on East Texas, punching is a big thing over there. When you look at Lake Athens, Lake Fork, I that's how I got my second place, and that's how I got beat by Mark Pendergraph. So if you ever leave a
Uh,
lifeline to how to punch, go talk to Mark Pendergraph because
uh,
he is really good at it when it comes, especially on a lake like Lake Fork. And that's my the most success I've had at punching grass has been at Lake Fork.
really.
And but that's something that I've gotten a lot this year. Like when I started kayak fishing, it's like, well, why am I casting to the bank? That's what I was casting. I just got a kayak. Let me go out there. Which is not bad. I mean, but you come to realize pretty quickly the bite out there in open water is a lot, especially on high pressure lakes. It's a lot tougher than the shore bite, or banging the shores, even if it's on your kayak. But punching is something that I've kind of like obligated myself to do more because it to me it's tough, especially living in Central Texas, not Central Texas, I should say North Central Texas. The closest lakes around me, they're not really, when you talk about Windy Lake, we talk about
Where are
like
you out
other
of? Where are you out of right now?
Fort Worth.
Fort Worth. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man, you're in bass fishing heaven there, right? I,
Us, I mean, there's some lakes I like. There's lakes like Grapevine, which is a tough lake, but I love to go because, like you said, you learn a lot from when you really have to struggle for the bite. That's when you learn a lot. I think when you go to like Lake Fork, which is the first time I went to Lake Fork. I was like, catching fish up and down. Not, I didn't at any point think it was because my talent level was at that point. It was just Lake Fork. It was a
See,
great day at Lake Fork.
you know,
So
I have a totally different experience at Fork. I mean, I've had some good finish. I had a fourth in I think it was the Bass Masters that happened not too long ago. But I have to work for it, man. As they
yeah.
just do, they don't just hop in the yak for me. So I was like, whatever you're doing, let me hear it because it's
Punching,
it's not
just
okay. There you go.
punching and deep into the creeks and stay away from the 14-foot gators. I learned
Okay.
that. I learned that in
Don't say the
pre-fishing.
gator. Don't say the gator because then we know exactly where you're at. There's only one spot that has that
No,
gator.
there's a few. Well, there's gator.
Is there?
Even if they know the spot, trust me, they're not going there. I
Yeah,
mean,
okay.
I saw some pretty prehistoric monsters, and I figured now I know why I got this spot to myself. There was some pre-fishing. Now I realize why I got this spot to myself because nobody in their
Did
right mind would get into this spot.
I don't know, like, do they bother you? Like, I'm just like, I've never heard of anybody ever
No,
like
I
getting
well,
attacked from a gator. The only
did
thing
you?
that I have heard about is like that they will come up and eat your fish. So I was a little concerned with that, you know. It's like, let me keep my hand back, or
Did you ever
something.
saw that post from in exile now from kayak fishing, unfortunately, for better or worse, Mark Coates, that he got a gator getting into kayak. Now it was I don't know, it was like 3 foot long gator. According, I saw the pictures. I mean, if the story is what it was told, that was I think on, well, that was just a 1 day tournament. At Lake Fork this year, the Bass Masters, and the gator got inside his kayak. I think he had
What?
like some, stick bait. You never saw the picture?
No, no, I never
Yeah,
seen
a
that.
gator
Wow.
got into
Okay.
his kayak,
Wow. Okay.
but it wasn't.
That's kind of cool though. It's like if I would rather a
Well,
gator
I
get
don't know what. I don't know what you mean by cool, but okay.
I would like that way more a little gator than a snake. You know, like a poisonous snake. You know, give me a gator every time, unless it's like mating season, and then like the mother's gonna come and just like,
Yeah,
come
no,
after
baby
you. Yeah,
season. But
but the only thing,
pre-fishing,
yeah, like so, like 3 foot gator, like I don't know if it can't really do anything to you, right?
I mean, if its mouth is still full of teeth and it's still one of the most powerful bites on the animal kingdom, I'm pretty sure it's not gonna be fun. It's,
Yeah, well, I guess I just lost a lot of the scare in it because the guys they were telling me, yeah, with the gator, you just hold their mouth shut like that, and they can't bite you.
yeah, that's a.
So I'm like totally
I don't
like
know.
you know
I don't know who told you that, but I don't know who is going to be in the right mind stick their hand out to hold the mouth open. I mean, to hold the mouth closed.
oh man, they were telling me all kinds of stuff too. They're like, oh yeah, you just sit on its mouth too, and just wait for your buddy to come. But they're like, if it starts to swerve, you might be in trouble.
Yeah, I don't
But
know.
we were drinking some margaritas and at the stump there at Sam Rayburn, so we were having a good time. Uh,
Yeah.
uh,
No, I don't think they bother you. I ran into a couple of them, and when I mean I ran into, it's like I was hitting the bank, and when I look at the bank, they were like 15, 20 feet away from me. But the one that scared the crap out of me, I was going into that cove, and it was like I think it's. I saw on the Google Maps there's a walking trail that's called um, Terror Trail, and now I realize why it's called Terror Trail because it's prehistoric monsters there. So I'm going to a creek where it's like it goes from like 2 inch deep to like all of a sudden 10 inch deep, 10 feet deep, and I'm thinking, oh, there's got to be fish here. Like this is a pool right here, and I throw in a jackhammer and I get it snag, and I'm just kind of like, you know, jerking the rod trying to get it loose, and all of a sudden I feel and I hear some movement, and this 12, 10 foot monster raises his head and starts looking at me because I've caught his attention. More than likely, he's just more concerned about his safety. But I
right.
don't know that. Like I don't know what his intention is when he raises his head and looks at me. And I was like, the fact that this animal, if it decides it wants to eat me, there's nothing I can do, is an uneasy feeling. People tell me like, no, it's not gonna harm you. I know that they may not. I mean, you're probably right. They're
Right.
not.
Yeah.
But just the fact that it
It
only
could.
takes for them to say, you know what, I'll give it a try. and then I'm dead. So no, the fact that I cannot be able to hold them or stop him from eating me is just, you know, knowing
Right.
that I don't have that option. It's really their option if they want to eat me or not. Then it's not fun.
Yeah, I don't know. You may end up getting me scared of them, but like right now, I haven't been. But yeah, maybe if we keep talking, I will. Andrew Jacobson told me that he had one's tail slap his yak. Now, if one does that to me, I'm gonna leave. Uh,
Oh
that
yeah,
that's gonna
I
work.
would say
You
so.
know, you give me a little tail slap, I'm just gone.
Yeah,
You
no,
know, but
definitely.
I think if I get in an area where one's at, it's like probably do something stupid, like stand up with my rod tip, make myself real high or something.
Make sure you
You know
have a
how it is,
Go.
man.
Make sure you have a GoPro recording so we can have found footage. Oh, this is what happened to him. Oh yeah, that's not smart.
I'll do the same thing if like snakes are around, like get out of here, and I'll start smacking the water and stuff. I don't like the snakes to be around, so.
And they
But
get
I bet,
curious. They'll come up right to up to your kayak, man.
yeah, I did see at Lake Fork because they have a lot of times Lake Fork in the cooler months that someone, and like I don't know, I'm pretty sure that it was real, but he had one because your warmth from your body is kind of set in that little spot right behind you in your Hobie seat, and like I feel like I would put my hand back there for just I don't know whatever reason, like so I was like you could probably get bit, but. Yeah, I don't know. The snakes are the ones that I'm a little more concerned with.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you on that one. There can be some big ones here too. Um, but anyways, that yeah, we went up the rabbit hole on the wildlife there. Talk to me a little bit about the conditioning. We were talking in the pre-recording about some of the stuff that I've recently discovered, and I think it's pretty awesome. But you're more deep into this, and it obviously, according to what you told me, it has bring you a lot of benefits and actually helped you on the water when it can be a physical sport every now and then when you're doing kayak fishing. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I got on the Kagan water, and what it is, it's molecular hydrogen, so it helps kind of penetrate like every cell in your body. And one thing that would happen to me on the water is I would you kind of like you lose your focus really bad, and so it's really helped me. You get like so hydrated, and it almost like to me, I would describe it as like it feels like to me like kind of like you get an IV, you get really hydrated,
Mhm.
and I make myself drink this throughout the day so that way I can keep my head about me because. I definitely, turning back at that point, I was like, man, you're going to lose a lot of fishing time. You have to in a kayak you got to make like some hard decisions because you just like I originally came from the bass boat world where oh it's not working here, well let me fire up and go over here.
Yeah.
Now your decision making is very hardened, so it helps me with that. And then I also the other thing is the biogeometry, and it's something that if it wasn't someone that I really trusted had told me about it, I would never ever believe that it worked or helped or anything like that. So basically, you just wear. I don't know if you can see that, but you wear like shapes,
Mhm.
and they resonate with BG3. If you go on their website for biogeometry, I'm not sponsored by them, or I don't get any kickback. But I feel like if you help people, karma will pay you back.
Yeah.
And go to biogeometry, write it down, and then look at their like they have an agricultural one. Anybody that understands what I'm about to tell you, you should stop and sit down and think long and hard because it should absolutely shake you to the core, right? But so they did an experiment with a sweet potato, and they put it in salt water from the ocean. There, it's like one of the most like high salt contents that there is in the whole world. And it did exactly what you would expect it to do. The salt water is poison to the sweet potato, so it just shriveled it up to almost nothing. Then they took another sweet potato during the same time span. They gave it tap water, just from the tap, and it started to bud a little bit. And then, so here's the interesting part. So the third sweet potato, they put the biogeometry shapes around it, and they gave it that same salt water from the ocean that they gave the first one. You want to take any guesses on what happened?
Nothing. I mean, nothing in the sense that it didn't affect the sweet potato.
Uh,
That's what I
it,
meant to say.
it 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 outgrew the one in the freshwater.
Oh, really?
So like we live in a world that's kind of like a slow kill poison, soft kill poison or whatever, like
Yeah.
glyphosate in the food, genetically modified stuff. People use microwaves, all this, horrible
Yeah.
stuff. So that is of a great benefit if you have something showing results like that. I would recommend anybody check it out. But what it did for me is, I play sand volleyball, and it's brutal. We like do doubles. We don't do like big numbers. So you're pounding around the ground. I'm playing like these young 20-year old types, and it just it's just been absolutely phenomenal. Your ability to recover. And, I just remember I used to always come home and my hitting shoulder would hurt, my neck would hurt, my sciatic would hurt, the knees would hurt, and with the Kagan water and that, it's just like, just, did you ever watch that movie Cocoon?
Oh
Where
yeah.
you
One of
see
my
like the
favorite
old
movies
people
growing up.
jumping around in the pool with the alien
Yeah.
stuff there, it's like, it reminds me of that. It's just like, it's just something that you would never ever try, you would never ever do unless it was someone that you truly trusted had told you about it. And luckily I had tried both of them out, and it's for me with the kayak, I was telling you before, it's just mine is just so heavy, and before I got on it, it would put such a pressure on my lower back, and I think that's why a lot of the older guys they trailer, is because it's
Yeah.
just I have to pull mine up these giant ramps here at Lake Travis. You want to see some of the most monstrous pulls
Yeah.
that you have to do manually. They put just so much torque on your spine and stuff, and it's just allowed me not to have the pain and stuff. So it's just amazing. So I feel like I said, I don't get any kickback for you going and doing geometry. Kagan is direct sales, so yeah, you do get something if someone bought a machine on that. But I feel like you get some karma by helping other people, because it
Definitely.
will, like for me, I feel like it's prolonged my kayak fishing, not having to dip it into the water. And when you do that, you're going to be limited to how many places you can really launch out of.
Yeah.
Um, on a lot of these lakes, before the tournament, I tried to go out of the spot and I had to get towed out there, because they have where, it's just a public access. But, all this stuff used to be underwater not that long ago.
Yeah.
And so we buried it down to the axle. And after that happened, I was like, well, I guess we're just doing ramps the rest of the way out.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
I'm just going to make way longer runs and stuff. So.
Yeah. Definitely, man. That's some interesting stuff, and I've kind of like gotten a little bit of information about it, and I definitely have to do some research as you get older. Like you said, the aches and pains start coming. Your knees, your shoulder, your back. It's just kind of like you wake up one morning, you're like, God, I'm old. What happened to me? I went to sleep, and I'm in pain. What would have happened if I actually did something other than sleep? I probably died.
The American diet is so highly inflammatory.
Yeah.
It is just absolutely awful for you. But I tell people to watch this, and I'm sure probably not a single person's ever actually took me up on it. Even my good friends, I tell them to watch it, and they won't do it. But there's a documentary. It's called Secret Ingredients. I highly recommend you watch that. And you always hear people say, "Oh, eat organic and non-GMO." But if you don't know the why, you're
Yeah.
never going to do it. You're not going to pay. You're going to see that price, and you're going to see that, and you're never going to do it. So, bringing that up has everything to do with prolonging your kayak career, and like you shouldn't be feeling pain. That's your body screaming to you that you're that you're having issues. So
Yeah. It is.
hopefully I get some good karma from telling you guys about this. Because again, I don't get anything out, but I want people to be healthy. And so I've just been really fortunate that I just back when I used to do kind of mainstream medicine stuff, I was always sickly, and uh, once I got away from that, I just pretty much almost never get sick.
Hey,
Hopefully that helps you.
Next year, you win an Angler of the Year award, and you know everybody's gonna be joining you in that.
Well,
No, but
I blew one of those, not this year in cast, but the previous year. So I think I lost to Jacob by like maybe 2 points, I think it was. So that was
Jacob Mueller,
painful.
Bowler.
Jacob Moeller.
Oh yeah, no shame in
Yeah.
that though.
Yeah.
Another great
Well,
angler.
it's just one of them things is like I said, is I feel like, Andrew's always, he's kind of seen me take some, unfortunate, falls, but I feel like you could look at those, negative, or you could look at them as like, you know what? I'm knocking on the door. I
Yep.
just got to fix a few things, so just look at it as a positive, yeah, and that's what I've been telling Armanzo. He's obviously, pretty bummed. But I was like, dude, that literally just happened to me last year, and so, and then it happened to me again at the TKC, which was a bummer. But I would not have won this one if I didn't lose severely at that one. I don't know. Maybe Caleb would have been pretty tight-lipped with me. I don't know.
No, I think it goes. There's kind of like stages you go through. Like when you lose a big lead and all that, there's like, man, how many chances am I gonna get to win? Like you can go a whole career and not win a tournament or an Angler of the Year race.
Mhm.
And when you're like right there, especially when Angler of the Year, when you're right there and you feel like this is your chance to win Angler of the Year, it's yours for the taking, and you lose it on a last day, on a bad day, it
That's what it
sticks
was.
with you because you never know. You're like, now it's not like sports like basketball, baseball. With baseball they play pretty much every day. Basketball they play every day or every other day, so you get a chance at redemption. But when you look at the Angler of the Year race, it's like, man, I have to wait another year to see if I can redeem myself, and you don't even know. It might take you might not even be here in another year or 2 years from now. So it's really gut wrenching when you're right there at the cusp and you blew it. But you gotta get away from that mentality. And I think I'm not gonna say the best way because I've never blown an Angler of the Year race because I've never been actually close to winning Angler of the Year. So let's start with that. But I think in my um diminutive experience is you got to think of it like this is going to make it all the more sweeter when I do win it, right? It's just like you got
Yeah,
to earn it. It's just going to make it more sweeter. Just you next year or next tournament, you're gonna just have to work harder, and you know, pick what you've learned and how to get better, and know mentally what's got to be your mental state to kind of like have amnesia in that aspect. Like
yeah,
forget what don't
absolutely.
remember what you did right, remember what you did wrong so you don't forget. But psychologically you have to have amnesia. You got to forget about the negativity of losing it and just move on and have positive vibes going into the next tournament because that's gonna go a big way. And I think one of the most underrated parts about kayak fishing, and one of the reasons why we at Paddle and Fin now have a segment every other, I think, Saturday or Sunday with Chris. It's called the mindset. It's because that's such a big important part about kayak fishing, having the right mindset, or
Yeah,
getting into the
absolutely.
right mindset, or keeping the right mindset. Because you can get on the right mindset and you can lose it on the next tournament if you struggle. So there's that plays a lot into it. We saw what Jay Wallen did kind of towards the end of the Hobie BOS tournament where he got on fire for like 2 or 3 tournaments in a row. We saw what Guillermo Gonzalez did like towards the end now of the Hobie BOS and the KBF, where he's just been on fire. It's he grabbed momentum and he's kept that momentum, and we God knows what's going to happen in the TOC this weekend. So, by the way, this episode is going to come out after the TOC. So, congratulations to whoever won the TOC. I'm sure it's going to be earned very well, and the Angler of the Year race, which is as tight as ever, I think. So yes, there is a certain part of it that you create momentum, and you can take it over to your next tournament. Maybe you don't won't win it, but you at least do good and feel good about it and move on to
Right.
the, you know, keep build having building blocks in that
Yeah.
aspect. Real quickly, Jeremiah, because I know I've had you for an hour. You're a family man. You have three kids. You have your wife. Um, what's been what's been your favorite setup? And also, what kayak you running? You said you have a big kayak. Tell me a little bit
Yeah,
about your kayak and your favorite setups.
I'm doing the Hobie 14 PA, and
Nice.
the reason I did that over the 360 is the 360 was kind of having some issues, and our Monzo, we've kind of just gone together in the beginning. We just kind of hooked up around the same time, and he did a really smart thing. Is he was always carrying like this extra like drive. I was like, huh, that's a good idea. And that thing, carrying that around has saved me multiple tournaments because, you can just be going with your drive and it'll just give out. At the classic that I won, not this one, but the not last year, but the year before that, and mine was doing that thing where if you ever have this happen, I'm going to save you some misery. It is just
Yeah, I've had that.
then fish do not like that. And if
No.
you try to fish through it, you will probably not catch much. But luckily, I had my second drive, so that's why I went with the PA, 14 to just the 180 instead of the 360, because I always want to keep that drive there in case it goes out or in case it starts whining or whatever. But man, them kick up fins have been amazing.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
What
so,
about your favorite setup? What's about your favorite, rod reel setup and your favorite bait?
Yeah, I love that Tatula SV. It's the best skipping reel that there is, in my opinion. But it could still cast, little lightweight baits, but it's still powerful enough to cast, heavier baits. So that's definitely it. Probably one of the rods that I've had forever that a lot of people hate it, but it's the Evergreen Combat Stick. It's very, very heavy. But it's been good for me. I really like that one a lot. And yeah, and then I throw like the Kistler Z bones, and those things they're really durable. They're really hard to break, so that's good.
Definitely, man. Well, Jeremiah, I've had you for an hour, and like I mentioned before, you're a family man. I really don't want to take too much time away from you. I'm really glad you were able to join us. Really excited. I was really hoping that I would be able to talk about the Cats. I know, like I said, it's longest standing or running tournament here in the United States, so there's a lot of history involved in it. And probably one of the best spots in the United States to fish, which is Central Texas. So again, congratulations. What is your tournament schedule for next year looking at? What are your goals for next year, and what are you looking to accomplish? Any big name national tournaments you like to do?
Oh, I would like to maybe try to get in some of those, bigger ones there, but the wife has been putting off going to wine country with her mom, so I won't be doing the classic next year, so that's kind of a bit of a bummer, But so maybe I'll look at the TKC with Andrew Jacobson, and I think Chris is putting that on, and but I would like to maybe do like maybe a Hobie or a Bassmaster or something kind of big. But yeah, I don't know. Like I mean, honestly, I don't get to spend as much time on the water, so uh, I don't have these big goals. I can't go and just travel around the country and do the series. Like I was just talking with somebody, is I don't really understand how anybody does that. Like it's it's hard to
Yeah, no, it's gonna
fathom,
be
like how do they do that? Like it doesn't dollars and cents. I don't know how they do it.
even like, and I'm not. How do I say this without sounding presumptuous or anything like that? Like I, when whole COVID thing, some things, some investments me and my wife did worked out, and I was able to get a leave of absence from work. And it was supposed to be 2 years, but they called me back because things are picking up. And my plan was to this year, next year, kind of go heavy on the national tournaments, even with the free time that I have, because I was really just doing Uber Eats just for my fishing stuff. Everything
Mhm.
else was financially was taken care of. I just needed to do something on the side to keep my mind busy and get some tackle money. But even then, I was like, dear Lord, this is tough. I mean, going from one state to another, when you look at the Hobie BOS, Susquehanna in Pennsylvania, Fox River and Fox and Wolf River, I think in Wisconsin,
Mhm.
Darnell in Arkansas, Toledo Bend, it is. I mean, and they don't even have Texas Trail this year. I think Toledo Bend is kind of like their Texas Trail in combination with Louisiana. But I mean, when you look at the people that are constantly on the top, like Christine Fisher, Guillermo Gonzalez, Cody Milton, Russ Snyder's, they not only fish the Hobie BOS, they also fish regularly the KBF and the Bassmasters. It's like, how do they do it? But I mean, it's one of the reasons why you a lot of times it's so hard to break into that elite group because you really need the time. And we're talking about a sport that you're not gonna make a living out of it. I mean, some of the elite anglers like Christine Fisher has a strong social media following. That obviously helps her match with her talent, ability to catch a check in most tournaments she wins. Russ Snyder pretty much catches a check in every tournament he wins. So is Guillermo Gonzalez for the most part, not everyone. So that helps a lot. But I mean, still, we're not at the level where you're catching in 20, 30,000 at best. You're gonna catch if you win, maybe nine, ten
Right.
thousand dollars if you win.
Right.
And it's gonna take you at
Yeah.
least $1,000 with the cost of gasoline that's gone way up. Accommodations where you can always split with a group and stuff like that, but still it's not
Yeah.
profitable.
Yeah.
But I mean, God bless if they can make it, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, we were talking about it, and we were just trying to crunch some numbers and say, how it's done, and we really didn't have a good answer. It's just, but uh, they don't. Yeah, I don't know. I just I like we crunched them, and I was just like, I don't get it. I don't know how, but I think
Yeah, no,
also
it's
being away from the corporate world,
yeah,
gives you that, So if I think. Matthew Scotch, for example, is a guide, and how good is that? It looks good on your resume if you go like you could take a day off and hey, I went and I won this big giant tournament.
yeah.
You should fish with me. It actually kind of does help if you were a guide. I think that's kind of the way I kind of took it is like, and you if you were a guide, you could probably take a day off, and so forth. So, and it would actually benefit you, I think. I don't know. I think I would want to go with, like, hey, I want to go fish with Guillermo, the national champion, or
Of
Cody
course, yeah,
Milton,
no.
Off the subject, but one of the things that I think would be kind of interesting for this podcast, but did you ever watch the 10 with Cody Milton and those guys? I think it wasn't this year. I think it was last year. But
Yeah.
I'm sitting there watching that thing, and you're just like, you're always trying to pick up little nuances and stuff like that. And Cody, they film Cody and they say, all right, he just left, and it was the guy that was in first place. And then he takes this little bait ball thing out and he's like, these things have been absolutely essential. He chucks the thing in the water and just starts, and he says it just gets him going and it helps him catch the fish. So I was like, man, I didn't even know those things were like a thing, or I mean, so I think it just chums the water up. Have you ever seen those things before?
I've seen him. I don't know how I feel about him. I'm not gonna criticize Cody Builder or anybody for doing it. If it's
Well,
allowed by the rules,
yeah, it was a sponsor for the tournament, so just wanted
yeah.
a full disclosure. He's totally
Yeah.
fine with it, and in
Yeah, no,
fact,
he's yeah.
yeah, he's fine because he's telling the camera. But it was just hilarious. He's like, "Who was that?" That he said, I forget. Josh Stewart. That's who it was. He's like, "Oh, right, Josh just left. So let me get these out." He's been absolutely essential. He just starts chucking them in the water there. And, I just thought that was hilarious. I mean, he's one of the best anglers, in my opinion, that there is going, Cody. And so
Oh yeah, Josh
it's
Stewart
like,
too.
yeah, oh yeah, Josh too, yeah. And so just to see that, I'm like, dude, like I am just missing the bus because I never even thought to be throwing these little chum balls in the
Yeah, I
water
don't
while
know.
you're
I don't.
fishing and stuff like that. They're probably not legal because that's
Yeah,
what
I
I
don't think
thought.
they're legal on tournaments.
Well, he was in the 10 tournament throwing them, but they were sponsoring it, so maybe it was only fine for that tournament.
Yeah, I
But
mean, if it's a promotional thing, I mean, I'm not gonna criticize. I mean, you have to make your money and all that.
yeah,
If it's a promotional thing, he's getting paid to do this promotional. By all means, do it. I would too. As far
no,
as
it
take,
was part of the tournament.
yeah,
Like it wasn't like a promotional thing. It was just like he was literally saying. I just thought it would be an interesting thing to add on here. That I was just like, I was like, wow, I was like, I never even heard of those things. But then I told a friend, and they're like, they were just sold out like everywhere. So I'll have to try them sometime. But like, the reason that I would have I think I've seen them before, is I never would think to throw it. Just because it just seems like you wouldn't be able to do it, but I don't know.
I
But
don't think you're able to do it. I don't know. That's an interesting point. We just actually recorded a podcast of going through rules, and that didn't come up. I've seen it on social media. I just assume it wasn't ever accepted on tournaments. And again, nothing wrong if it was accepted on this tournament and it was a way for them to make money out of promotions. By all means, do it. I wouldn't do it in the sense that I want to learn. To me personally, it's not about, yes, you want to win a tournament, not really about the money, because I don't really need the money. I mean, we always need money, but I
right,
mean, I'm
right,
not starving for the money. I don't need it to survive. It's more like the respect and um kind of like the measuring stick for myself, not necessarily for popularity or for anything like that. It's just that I want to know that I can compete and go toe to toe with the best ones, and every now and then win. Right? That to me is the satisfaction of winning a big tournament or winning Angler of the Year, knowing that I'm good at it. It really has nothing to do with the money or the popularity. It's just knowing myself. It's just something for me. Can you hear me,
Mhm.
by the way? I think my audio got
Yeah, I can hear you perfect. Yeah,
yeah,
it looks like
my
your
audio
picture's
got stuck. So if you're watching on YouTube, you're gonna laugh at my face that's stuck. But anyways, hopefully
perfect.
nobody watches it on YouTube. But it's so a product like that, it's not gonna really make me a better angler. I mean, it's not gonna make you a better angler. Just if you're getting the fish to bite because of something artificial that you put there, then you're not really being a great angler. Again, I'm not saying anything wrong about the product or the promotion side of it or any angler getting promoted from them. By all means, if it's a way for you to help you alleviate the cost, do it. I'm just saying about the regular schmo shows like you and me, or like me, I should say, that are learning to kayak fishing. That's not how you're gonna learn to kayak fishing. You're gonna learn to kayak fishing by struggling and figuring it out. But I mean, who knows nowadays with technology how that's gonna go in the future.
Yeah, I wish they would go back to like just down scan.
Mm.
When the like last year, that's all I had was just a old hook 7 down scan. You can see if there's grass below you and stuff like that. But one thing that I really spend a lot of time on is I'll always get the best mapping card that I can, and so I feel like I could catch fish. I usually don't try to look for. You always hear guys look for fish, but I fish a lot shallower and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So you don't have to see them and stuff, but. I just would rather have a really good map card and down scan, and let's go back in technology a little bit. But unfortunately, I got the live scope, so I'm gonna have to learn to use it. I think.
Yeah, after shelling out 2 grand, you might as well try to get some, have it to your advantage. I've recently got into this, which is the new craze, doing Google Earth. And the first tournament that I did, it was actually Belton Lake. And I actually mentioned this on the podcast we were talking about with the reel down. It worked out great. Now in Belton Lake, I ended up with I think three fish but I found the fish. My investigating skills or my technology skills with this with putting waypoints using Google Earth Map was awesome. Unfortunately, my hook setting skills did not match it that day, and I lost about 3 or 4 fish. And some quality fish. I'm not gonna say I lost the 12 digit or anything like that because it was, but I lost some quality fish on the, and it really came down to a lake that I've never fished. But I was able to break down water with that Google Earth, especially if you go out throughout the years. And I know, like
Yeah.
in 2014 and 15, we had a really bad dry
Yeah.
season, so those a lot of those lakes were really dried up. If you look, I think 2014 at what was that lake? Oh my God, it's right here next. But what where Guillermo Gonzalez put 110 inches. God, how can I forget the name of that lake? Oh my God, I'm gonna kill myself. I love that lake. One of my favorite lakes. I recently started getting it. But anyways, that's gonna be on my mind for a while. That lake, if you look at it on Google Earth, I mean, part of the lake is just like dry, completely dry.
Hmm.
The boat docks on the house boat docks were like a quarter of a mile away from where the lake
Wow.
was at that point. You felt bad for anybody that bought a house and had a boat dock because those for about 2 years those boats just stayed on dry land. So when you go through tools like that, I mean, that to me, and I know this word gets thrown out a lot, but it's really a game changer, especially when you don't have the time to pre-fish, because now you can look and find things that right now, because the water level has been up a lot more than it has been in the last 5 years, you can really find like gems out there that you don't know
Mhm.
they're there unless you stumble upon them on your graph. But now you know exactly where they are because you can waypoint it on your computer, upload it to your fish finder, and know exactly where they are and what exactly it is out there. So that to me has been a great tool. Now it's not going to work on every lake, but or it's not always going to be beneficial depending on the season, spawning season, stuff like that. It's just a matter of learning it. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of technology out there that it's really changing the game little by little, and every now and then you see a breakthrough in technology. It just takes the sport to another level, and we've seen that with the
Mhm.
360 imaging and the live scope and so stuff like that. And exciting to see what's going to happen next. There at some point in the next 5 years, probably going to be another breakthrough in technology, and the fishing industry is going to take it to another level.
You know what I think it is? It's going to be like the live scope is just going to have less of a learning curve, I think, is what it's going to
Yeah,
end up being because right now there is a bit of a learning curve, and
yeah,
I think that they'll probably maybe iron some stuff out. It feels like, Armanzo has the Lowrance, and he is already not having to go through some of the growing pains. Like I was like, you should be having a little more trouble with that. You
yeah.
shouldn't just be
Well,
seeing fish right off the bat.
Rolando Landin said it on my podcast when he won that Lake at that trail at Belton. His life go really helped it, but he said it
Yeah,
took 2 years to
yeah,
finally. I can say that it helped me win a tournament. God knows how many other tournaments he would have won if he wasn't depending on the live scope. But that's the technology. Now, back when he got it 2 years ago, there was how many YouTube channels were dedicated to a product that just came out? Like nobody had it. Now it's
yeah,
a little bit more affordable, and now people have it, and now there's a ton of YouTube channels where you can find it. That's gonna shorten that learning curve. But when he got it, it's like there was no YouTube channels. As I looked, there was no YouTube channels to help me with
yeah,
my
yeah.
live 360. I mean live Garmin. So it
Hmm.
helped him that's definitely another aspect. That's so wholesome social media side.
Yeah, he's Rolando's the reason that I have the live scope. I
Yeah,
just got
he's
tired of hearing him. Oh, look, looking at the fish, and I caught this 20 incher, and like he is probably one of the best to just like organically. You could just put him on a lake, and he uses that thing, and he'll get 90, probably more than about anybody I know. Like he just can organically happen. But do you know him very well? Like,
yeah, yeah. I mean, I've had him on the podcast and I met him on the boat
yeah,
ramp once. So no, he's a
he.
really nice guy. Great joy to talk to.
Yeah, I feel like we balance a lot of stuff each off of each other, and it's helped us get a lot better. We went 1-2 at that Belton tournament, and but he carries like 16 rods.
Yeah,
when,
we were
when he
talking
goes
about that.
fishing. And I used to give him such a hard time, and now he's got me up to going out with 13 rods,
Really?
when I do these things. Yeah, but just because I feel like before you kind of have preconceived notions, and I
Yeah,
find preconceived notions are really bad. It's like, oh, I want to go out and I want to catch them this way. That's what I want to do.
yeah,
And so I literally try to force myself not to do that, is I'm not going to have four jack, hammer poles anymore, or three spinnerbait poles in a practice. It's going to be just one, and of a big gamut of baits. And I didn't mention to you earlier, but the actual bait that was the primary, it was actually a crawl, it was Texas rig crawl.
oh yeah,
So
we got skipped that. I think that's when
yeah,
we
yeah.
lost the audio
So,
for a second.
yeah, and that was, at the very last day of my practice, last 20 minutes, it's just, you just kind of never give up, never say die, right? And I went and was headed back, and I saw a little thing of wood and threw up there. And if you looked at that wood, you would look at and you would say, there is no fish there. But like, I don't know why. It's just you want to have some confidence going into a tournament. And sure enough, one just about 18 inches just came out of nowhere and ate it. I was like, oh, that was weird. Where did that fish come from?
Yeah.
And so I was like, I went down a little bit farther and caught another one. And I went down a little bit further and caught another one. So I was like, okay, now I'm confident. You just gave me a little bit of, you gave me just exactly what I needed to go into this, just something that was working and getting multiple bites and getting them, relatively quick, so.
Yeah, no, it's amazing what a one bite will completely change your day when you're struggling. You kind of
Hmm.
gives you that confidence, and then you start thinking, "Oh, now I can win this." I've been struggling for
Yeah,
been
yeah.
skunking for the first 5 hours, but I got one. I think I can win this. It'll make you hallucinate, give you illusions of grandeur for a second, but that's good. Kind of gets you in the right mindset. Feels good.
Yeah.
You might skunk 7.5 hours, and at the last 30 minutes catch a fish, and it feels like you won a tournament just knowing that you didn't get skunked.
Yeah, like it's like, it is like that's one of the things I love about the sport. It's the highest of highs, and the
Yeah.
lowest of lows. I don't love the lowest of lows, but they make you appreciate whenever you finally figure that puzzle out, and it's just like such gratification.
Yeah. I've heard the highs are really good. I haven't gotten there.
You got second
But I
place.
heard they're good though. I can't wait to get there.
Yeah. You got second to Mark. He's national championship. I think you
Yeah.
national champion. You're doing good.
Yeah, man,
He
that was
actually,
nice.
he put out a video too. I don't know if you watched it or not, but yeah, he did one on the punching, so you might want to look it up there. So I took
Oh
some
no,
notes.
I knew exactly where he was gonna be. I was like, I knew it was funny as I said it on the podcast before. I went in with a lot of confidence because I really confident in Lake Fork. Bassmasters at Lake Fork, I did horrible. I personally, I not that I'm the worst angler, but I'm certainly not the best angler out there. But my struggles with Lake Fork was really, and I think when you look at the top 10, only Guillermo Gonzalez was on. Really, only Guillermo Gonzalez was the only Texan. I think the top 10. It was because for a lot of us, that being so close to that snowmageddon that we had, I think it was two days removed of that snowmageddon, really threw a curveball for a lot of us here locally. So um, Lake
Yeah,
Fork
I
did
did.
not fish at
Yeah,
all what I expected.
I
Um,
didn't do good either, but
no,
my
most of
things.
the locals didn't do good at all.
I mean, I feel like I had a really good area, but one thing that I'm learning on these lakes is with a kayak is your big advantage is you can go where a boat cannot go.
Yep.
And that was my mistake on that is I went to a place where boats could get there easily,
Yeah.
and they don't want to mess up their boats, that's a treacherous lake. So I went
And
into a cove off the main lake, very easy for them to get. I was catching good fish in there. Come tournament day, man, like everybody was in there. And like apparently I missed the memo, like on the jerkbait, bite or whatever. I'm sitting there fishing down the way, and the guy literally says to me, he's like, "No jerkbait, huh?" And I was like, "What?" like, because you
Oh
can't
yeah,
fight
I've
the
heard that
competitor.
story.
But yeah, and I was like, no, and I thought that was weird. And then I don't always look around at everybody, but I looked around the cove when he said that, and there was like six other boats in there, and half of them were throwing jerk baits. But he was just smoking them. He's coming up to me, and he was smoking them on a jerk bait. He went past me, and he was smoking on a jerk bait. So you would think I would tie a jerk bait on, right?
Yeah, I heard Russ Snyder was throwing only jerk baits in the pre-fishing. So yeah, I know a lot of people throwing jerk baits, but that never even occurred to me again because of my um, little experience fishing on tournaments. But I've never would have thought of throwing a jerk bait. I did with I think what most of us locals did. There was a mistake is just going after bed fishing because there were some bed fishing, but I think that spawning season got spread out more. Usually you would see them all, in hundreds of them, thousands would just come up and start spawning. But this one it was really more like spread out. I saw some. I went to some lake spawning like really really late in spring, almost summer. That I was like, they're still spawning. But I think a lot of it had to do with that snowmageddon we had because we haven't had that I don't know more than a decade here. So yeah, but other than that, going back to the point is like yeah, Lake Fork is I felt really comfortable going in, and then I walk up to the captain's meeting. I see Brian Howe, I see Mark Pendergraph. I'm like, well, there goes my confidence in this. But once I got on the water and started thinking, I want to beat these guys, and I want to beat them at their best. I don't want to beat them where they get skunk. I want to beat them where they're putting up big numbers. It gets your competitive juices flowing, man, and that's what you have to look for. You can, yes, at first it was intimidating, but once I got on the water, I was looking at the leaderboards and I'm thinking, I'm coming after these guys, and I'm going to give it my best. Ended up being second, which I'm pretty proud of.
Yeah.
Looking back, I probably could have won it if I didn't put my foot out of the gas pedal after I caught my last fish, because my last fish was such a relief that I think I slowed down mentally and in my fishing, and I was just kind of content with it. And going forward, that's something where you got to have that killer instinct from
Yeah.
lines
Yeah.
in to lines out. You can't be complacent, and you can't let the struggles affect you. You gotta keep fishing like the next fish is the one that's gonna win you the big tournament. That's the
No,
mindset you
no,
have to
you're
have.
right. That's part of going to the next level. Is it's something that I kind of struggled with. I'd catch them early, and you get kind of content, and then sure enough, they are not content. They are
Yeah.
coming like a wolf pack after you. So I've really kept my focus in there. That the keg and water helps me kind of keep my concentration, because if you get dehydrated, I don't care who
Yeah.
you are,
Especially in
you're gonna have a hard
Texas.
time concentrating. Yeah. So, but I think I'm getting pretty close to the battery dying, so I don't
Oh
want to
yeah.
end it just like,
Let me
you
give you a few minutes to shout out. Who do you want to shout out? Thanks whoever you want to thank, and
know.
then we'll close out with that.
Yeah, definitely. I want to thank my wife, Robin. So she just keeps, she's like kind of the glue for our family and all that, and she helps take care of the girls. And thank the girls for allowing me to go fish and stuff like that. So if I didn't have that support there, I definitely would not have the success that I have. I just started kind of working with a friend of mine, a Fat Lip Bait Company, Trent, and he's got me those baits that absolutely saved my national championship. Like nothing was working, and I would put those on every day, and I would catch fish. So that was shout out to Trent, and then just really want to thank like all of my friends. Big win like this. Like you kind of alluded to earlier, is it's just the one thing I learned a long time ago is it's your circle. If you have a really good circle and diverse and big, and I talk fishing all the time, so it's fun for me, to overanalyze stuff, and so just talking that with my friends, I feel like that's a big part of what's made me successful. Yeah, I still watch videos and I pick up maybe some stuff here and there, but it's just that core, that group that you have around you is really really important. So you have Armanzo and Rolando, and just you know, I mean, I don't even want to start naming names because I won't do justice for all my friends that helped me, like, Joe that helped me frog fishing, so, but now I need a friend for the punching, and I think I'll be
There
there.
you go. Let's call up Mark. He's a good guy.
Okay.
Shout out to Mark Prendergraph, Possum King. So Jeremiah, before your battery goes away, thank you so much. It's been an honor to have you on the
Thank you.
podcast. Thank you for blessing the podcast. We look forward to meeting you on the water. Hopefully, be there in the tournament with you, get to know you, get to see you at work, and the best of luck moving forward on tournaments and in life. As always, more important things and with the family. So again, for everybody that's listening, thank you for made it this far. Go check out my sponsor, Douglas Outdoors, douglasoutdoors.com. Check out their full lineup of LRS, X Matrix, and fly fishing rods. If you're going to be on the water, please have a good time. Stay safe. Don't drink beer while you're on the water. It's only the name of the podcast. And wear your PFDs. You have a great time, everyone.
All right. Have a good night.